Good afternoon. I'm Steve Krueger, and I'm down here in my studio. As you can see in back of me, it's turning out to be a beautiful day. Now, there's many ways to paint trees using the watercolor medium, many ways to create trees using this medium. Today, I'm not going to paint a pretty picture. I'm going to paint tree trunks mainly. Now, my students, they love this technique. And the technique I'm about to demonstrate is going to be fun. So let's begin. All right, as I mentioned in my intro, what I'm going to be doing is demonstrating how to do these trees. Each tree is different. Of course, no one tree is the same with watercolors. Sometimes you just have to stand back and watch it work. This technique works on what we call hot press paper. Bristol paper is good. Let me show you that. $17 for 24 sheets. So you can really practice this technique, and that's how you're going to learn. Now, what makes this interesting is when you use Bristol, the water stands on the paper a little bit longer before it absorbs in. Now, if it was let's say 140-pound cold press Arches paper, the water absorbs quicker than what you'll see here with the Bristol. So while this is drying, I'll also show you it's the same technique, but it's on better paper, Strathmore Bristol sheets. This is what you want to use to make a beautiful painting. So, with that said, now we're going to begin. To begin with, I use burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. That's all we're going to be using. Of course, you can play around with sepia, other colors, but to make this interesting and not too long, I'm going to use just these two colors. I have my palette. I've got my ultramarine blue and my burnt sienna here. And this has to be wet. It has to be elastic. It can't be dry. The best technique is just to squeeze it right out of the tube and go for it. So this is what I call control. We're going to, this is the way I'd recommend starting. I take tape, tear it like so. That gives you this deckled edge that you put down on the paper. Now, if you do this, run this over a towel or something with lint on so it pulls up a little bit easier than if you don't, sometimes the paper comes up with it. So I got this look in, let's see, these three were in tape and this one was a freehand. So I'll show you how to do a freehand over here. We might do a couple of them. So here we go. First off, I'm right-handed, so in my left hand, let's skip this. In my left hand, I have what's called Viva paint. Whoops, we'll just blot that. Viva paper, not Viva paint, Viva paper. And it doesn't have any imprint like Brawny or whatever. They have that pretty imprint. This is just plain paper, and it blots really well. Now, what you have to do, and let me show this again, you have to have contrast. If I just dropped the pigment in and it was all this color all the way down, boring, boring, boring. So, as you'll see, while I'm painting, I'll be dabbing, and I like to get a little tip. I'll be dabbing paint as we go, just to get your contrast. That's the key, get your contrast. So in my left hand, I have my paper, and I use a brush with a fine point. And as you can see, I'm going to roll this directly into the burnt sienna and then roll it into the ultramarine blue. So I've got two colors. I've got two colors on this tip, and I've got a lot of pigment. That's the key. You have to have a lot of heavy pigment on the tip. When you drop it into the water, I'm going to have puddles of water, And when you drop it in the water, well, you'll see what it does. But that's how you start. You lay it down, you have your brush ready to go, and then you get just plain water. Well, this is kind of dirty water, so you can see, well, I guess you can't. It's kind of dirty, but I wanted you to see just how much water I'm putting on here. So as you'll see, you got to work fast, and that's why you got to do this over and over again. Okay, so I'm dropping in pigment. As you can see, it's exploding. I call it exploding. And I'm blotting, and where it blots, it won't go into this white where I just blotted. Let me blot down here. Okay, we're getting kind of a, well, let's say a birch tree. But I'll put in some heavy, this is a lot of burnt sienna here. And we'll blot down here. Okay. All right. Now we do it again. I got my tip, the tip of my brush. I'm rolling it in burnt sienna, ultramarine blue. This is the burnt sienna, this is the ultramarine blue. I lay it down. It's ready to grab up because, as you can see, you got to work fast. Okay, here we go. Another one. Lots of water. I don't like this over here. Yeah, okay. Now, let's see, let's make this more brown. Let's get some burnt sienna. And now I'll drop in a little ultramarine blue, really darken it up. That's for fun. Okay, we got blot here, blot here. And we'll see what happens with this tree. These are kind of similar trees, so let's see what else I can do here. I'll do a freehand. Again, the key is always have your brush loaded up and ready to go. Okay, I'm just laying in plain old water, and we'll bring it up all the way up. A little bit more water. Okay, drop it in the puddle of water and just make it work for you. And let's make it dark down here by the root. Bring this up. Got to have some contrast. And this is buckling a little, so I blotted very firmly there to get your white. Okay. Now let's do a darker. Let's do real dark. Lots of ultramarine blue, little bit of burnt sienna. Now we'll see what happens here. And we're going to make this real dark. And I got a little, went outside the lines, so 2 demerits. Okay, we want to keep some white here. We're losing that. So blot real hard there. Okay, I'm getting a little bloom here, a little bark. And we got room, so let's do another. Let's do a skinny one. Let's marry these two. All righty. We'll just let this dry. Let's take the tape off, see what we got here. Again, I'd suggest starting with tape. Gives you a little bit more control, but it's up to you. Okay, that's a good look. Okay, see how I got this edge right here? Because of this edge on the tape. Pull this last one off. All right, there's a bunch of trees. I could be painting for the next 50 years trying to duplicate each one of these trees, never be able to. This is what's fun with watercolor. It does its own thing. So let's get a look here. Well, it's still wet. There's still sheen on, but this is pretty good bark. And we'll go over here. You can see there's still the sheen. With watercolor, you go in dark and it always dries a little bit lighter. So there we go. Okay, next I'll stop and let this dry, and then I'll do the same technique on Strathmore Bristol sheets. You basically get the same, but this is good stuff here. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back, and as you can see, these trees are now bone dry. And they're what I call gnarly trees. They're fun trees. You'd want these in the foreground. Let me bring them up. We'll start with the bottom and give you an idea of what they look like. Just a nice close-up. As you can see, a lot of definition. Yep, some good bark. And there you have it. So this is on Bristol, and we've got to change a plan to shorten this. I'm not going to paint on Strathmore because the technique and the effects are similar. I'll just show you. Here's a Strathmore Bristol sheet I did the other day. This is the look you can get. And this is good paper if you want to do a good picture. And again, here's the other one that I did. Let me get that up real close. So it's the same technique, same look. Now before I close, there's another paper, and I'm not going to demonstrate it, but Fabriano hot press. This I like this. It's very subtle. Get a subtle look on this. So that's a good looking tree also if you use Fabriano hot press. So hope this has been of interest, and we'll see you next time.